It's the full European experience, basically. You get to stay in old state-sponsored schools with shared accommodation, shared showers. There is chicken and potatoes for dinner every night and every afternoon. Breakfast is usually dry bread, but the racing is fantastic because the stages are about 100 kilometers long. They're based around this small place in the Czech Republic. It's hilly, but not too hilly. And they tend to do a loop over the same hill 7 times during the entire 4-day stage race. So you know the hill really well, so you can gauge your efforts on it a bit better that way. And that makes it a bit more enjoyable because you know what is going to come and you know how much it's going to hurt beforehand. So if you're going to do races, just choose your races very carefully. This is advice to you as well. If you're not sure about races, just give me a call. But there is races that are more suitable as a first UCI race than others. Like tomorrow is the start of the Healthy Aging Tour, which is a race I avoid like the plague because all the World Tour teams will be there. They'll all have fresh legs and they will all be racing to win as many points as they can because it's the early season, which in the past has resulted to club teams being eliminated on day 2. And you still have to pay the full entry fee for the entire trip. You don't get your money back even if you're out. So choose a race that you can do, where you can actually continue and can race. Other top tip is if you are entered in a race, prepare yourself. The courses are online. You can find the courses, have a look at the courses, look at the height profiles, and then think to yourself, go to your coach and say, look, this is what I need to do. And then ask your coach to make a plan to help you with that. The first UCI race you do is definitely going to be the hardest thing in your life that you've ever done because you have no idea what to expect. And all of a sudden you're racing against people who have been doing it for years and years and years. And this is especially for younger riders or for new riders. I find it overwhelming. I think your first UCI race is just overwhelming. And Jay and Gemma, you have done UCI races, so you know what it's like. And you can confirm if you want what you thought of your first UCI race, but I think it's an overwhelming experience. You're nervous. You don't know who you're going to be racing against. Then all of a sudden you see Kirsten Wild coming past you, elbows out, barging everybody out of the way with a 90 kilos. And she's like 1.90 m and she weighs 90 kilos and she just cycles through you as if you're not there. And everybody shouts at you, so you think you're doing everything wrong. But it's not personal. It's all about respecting the peloton, and the person that they don't know gets the least respect, so you end up at the back, which is where the racing is the hardest. Once they get to know you, you get to move up a bit, and then it becomes a bit easier in that way. But it's just, again, it's all experience, really. And getting to know people as well, actually.
And is that getting to know sort of like the staff that you'll see at races as well as the riders?
It's getting to know the staff, but I think if you have a good DS, I mean, what I always did is I started planning for these races about 2 or 3 months in advance. And that is just by informing riders what is going to happen, what are we going to do, which race are we doing, which people are coming, what do you need to do, what does the course look like? And then when you get closer to the time, what are the travel arrangements? Where are we staying? What are we eating? Things like that, just so that a rider can prepare themselves as well. As a DS, I always make sure that I know if riders have got dietary requirements. I make sure if people are on inhalers so that I can make sure that I have a spare inhaler in the car for them and things like that. So, you know, it's all about being prepared as a DS as much as it is as a rider, because in the end, a rider just needs to ride the bike. And as a DS, you have to make sure that everybody gets there, everybody races, and everybody gets back again.
So just going back to the point about the sort of the different stages within a race.
Yeah.
And because and we were talking before about national series over here. Yeah. What's, because one of the challenges that I think we face with women's cycling in particular is that riders don't tend to, women cycling there tends to be a lot of confidence issues within it, and so people tend to shy away from the harder races because they are hard, and therefore they are going to be hard. So it's like a vicious circle, really. So what would, and one of the things that we're trying to do is encourage everyone to ride different types of events, so that to get used to different sort of parkour, so different types of courses and stuff. So what advice would you give to people for things like that?
I would say race anything you want. The only way you're going to find out how good you are at something is by doing it. I mean, sitting at home, you're not going to know how well you get on in the hills. So, this is why I've always taken people to Ardèche. Ardèche is, I would personally say, the hardest bicycle race for women in the world. The last time I did it, 2018, we had 48,000 feet of climbing height meters, so 16,000 height meters over 6 days. You don't get that anywhere else, and I don't expect a team of 18-year-olds to win that race, but it is putting yourself out there and showing that you want to do it, but also you get to learn from the best riders in the world that you're on the starting line with. So just do it. Just go for it. You can't fail. You only fail if you don't do it, because then you haven't tried.
But yeah, because that's what they say about regret, isn't it? You can never regret doing something. You can only regret not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's true. That's definitely true. I mean, especially with cycling. I mean, you can only do these things once, and just do them when you have the opportunity.
Yeah, before someone puts even more restrictions into our lives.
Yeah, or you can just marry a European and move to Europe.
Fabulous. So has anybody got any more questions?
I think you had one very important question at the bottom of your list of questions.
Yes, I did. Yes, it was about weight, wasn't it?
It is about weight, and it's
yes. So the question
was, most important question.
What would you say to riders who are being questioned on their weight?
I would say that the only people that should ever question you on your weight are doctors, specialists, and nutritionists, because they know what they're talking about. If anybody else says anything about your weight, it's an opinion and nothing more. And that's even if I as a DS say something about somebody's weight, I have done this in the past, and I felt sorry because I have talked riders into eating disorders unknowingly to myself. But saying, oh, if you just lose a few pounds here and then you can get over the hills a bit faster and then you can win these races. And that results in eating disorders. And it's a very, very, very slippery slope from there, because then you're on a very, very different path all of a sudden. And that's a very long recovery. I mean, I've got riders who have been recovering from eating disorders for over 10 years now, and they still haven't been able to get back to the level that they're at. So if anybody comments on any body shape or any weight, then consult a nutritionist, consult a doctor first before you do anything. Don't go dieting on your own. Don't think, oh, this is going to make me so much faster if I lose a kilo here or a kilo there. I actually did a seminar the other day with the nutritionist of the Koning Quick Step, and she made a very interesting point. She said, if I want a rider to lose 2 kilos, I will actually make him lose 250 grams a week in weeks that he's not racing, and that's it. I'm not going to do more. He could do more, but I'm not going to make him do more, because he just won't have enough energy. So it's a nutritionist will be able to help you balance exactly what you're doing. And unfortunately, in cycling, everybody has an opinion. Well, it's true though.
It's true. Everyone's an expert, Rene. Everyone's an expert.
Everybody is an expert, and that's why some riders will never get anywhere, because they know everything already and they don't want to listen. Yes, no, seriously, if you feel that you have any issues with weight, go consult a nutritionist, but don't listen to just anybody who says anything to you, and don't go and try and fix things on your own, because that is something that can go horribly wrong.
Yeah, and we don't want that to happen at all.
No,
Because
I mean,
that's
I'm in the unfortunate position that I've become an expert in eating disorders, because I think I know 7 or 8 riders who have got eating disorders. Some of them don't even know it themselves that they have it, but I can see it from a mile away now, unfortunately. But,
so if you're a rider and someone is consistently sort of sniping, effectively, I suppose is the word, isn't it, about your weight, a team manager or DS, what would your advice to that rider be?
if it's a team manager or a DS, then I would advise you to find another team. You're only racing for yourself. You're racing for yourself. You're not racing for somebody else. You race because you want to race, and it doesn't matter what you look like or how much you weigh, as long as you're happy racing. And somebody who might be slightly overweight will be much happier racing than somebody who is trying to starve every gram of their body just to go half a kilometer an hour faster. And in the long run, your performance will be better if you don't listen to these people, because it just messes with your head completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say much worse things than this, but I can't, because we're being recorded.
Yes, well, apparently it's a lot less contentious than last week, so we've won on that one. Is there anything else, Rene, that you think we should cover?
Not the top of my head, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them, or if you have any questions later on, just get in contact. It's absolutely fine. I've got all the time in the world because the kids are back at school, so I have nothing else to do at the moment.
Well, thank you very much, Rene. It's been a pleasure, really insightful, and I don't think any of us were disappointed with what you've had to say. So it's been really useful, and
you're more than welcome.
And I suspect I'll be in touch at some point to ask for more of your words of wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's always a pleasure. So just feel free to get in contact anytime. So
I'm going to stop sharing. And I get my screen back. Excellent. So does anyone else have any questions, or is that okay?
Sorry, I've got a very quick question about if you are a family and you're going abroad.
Yeah.
Do you still have to fill in all the documents and everything like that for taking bikes if you're doing a race while you're on holiday?
As far as I know, for sporting goods, you do have to do that. Okay. Yes, I have been actually contemplating this, and I haven't actually had an answer back yet from the customs people, because what happens if you are a family, you want to go abroad and take the bikes? Do you have to fill that in then all of a sudden? I don't know, because I haven't actually had a firm answer on yes or no on that. My advice would be to just assume that you have to, because then at least when you get to the border, you don't get nasty surprises that all of a sudden you can't take your bikes.
Yeah.
So my advice is just to always be prepared for the worst situation, because if you're prepared for the worst, then anything better than that is a bonus.
Good advice.
That's great, thank you.
More good advice.
I've run cycling teams for 10 years. Anything can happen.
Going to get a name for yourself at this rate, Rene. It's a new sideline, isn't it? Consultancy services for the cycling industry. Right, fabulous.
Now.
So thanks very much, Rene. Appreciate your time and everything, and hopefully everyone found it useful and insightful. If you've got any questions for Rene, by all means drop me a line and I'll forward them on, and hopefully I've worked out how to record this so it's going to be available, and I hope it is, because it was really interesting. So thank you very much for everyone, and thank you, Rene.
You're very welcome. Thank you everybody for listening.
And we'll see you all soon.
Yep.
Hopefully. Cheers guys, take care.